It's gonna be live.
I'm waiting to see it show up on my Facebook screen here. Like when it
Yeah.
says, Tanya has gone live.
Yeah, and are you in the Southern Muse? Or are you on Tanya Vilar page?
I'm nowhere. I'm like nowhere.
It's on the Southern Muse page, David.
I'm just like,
We're live.
I gotta go to, you're live?
Yes, we are live, honey.
Okay.
Okay.
Baby.
Hello, everybody. Tanya Vilar, the Southern Muse, and I'm here tonight with David Traub. Yes. Did I say day 39 already? I believe I did because I'm so excited. I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to run this show and talk at the same time.
I'm trying to find the page so I can see who's there.
It's the Southern Muse page, David. Southern Muse.
You know,
and
there was a time when I knew how to do all this stuff.
There we go. Okay, Misty's watching. Hello, Misty. I see you. I'll let you know, David, who I see and who I don't see, but Misty's here. Misty, tonight we're talking about the Course in Miracles. I'm on day 39, and I'm answering questions from people that are in my Patreon account that have been following along, and about doing the course and some of the challenges that maybe they have. So, David, I'm gonna do a little intro with you now, David. Is that
okay?
Cool?
I'll look at the screen. So then, there.
What you do? Okay, you ready? You ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Hit it.
So David and I taught together for, I can't even remember how many years, a wonderful weekend experiential course called Loving Yourself and Others, Understanding Yourself and Others, Money and Money Freedom. You might hear some all global relationship courses. And we also train life coaches and instructors. So the course has been in our wheelhouse, let's say. This text has been in my wheelhouse, like on my bookshelf for over 20 years, okay? Hayworth. So over 20 years, I've had the Course in Miracles on my bookshelf, okay?
Well, it's better than just sleeping on it.
Well, remember, I used to say, David, that I used to get information that way from books, but I couldn't get it from the book that way.
That's why I mentioned it.
I know, I knew it was one of those inside jokes.
Since you started the patron stuff, you really upped your game. You actually read the books now.
I know. Well, you know, it's called evolution, baby.
Yeah,
it's called evolution.
We all got to do it.
Okay.
Get left behind.
I don't even remember who I was 20 years ago. Okay. So like, I'm just somebody else right now. And I happen to read the books now. So that's really great. And one of the reasons I decided to do this on my Patreon account was to hold myself accountable, because the number one question from my patrons is what to do if you find that you only do 1 or 2 days of the course. And then like you phase out, even though I'm sending them daily emails, right? Doesn't matter. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like what happens in our filters when
are we talking about what we should do, or are we talking about what have we done?
Yeah, let's talk about what we did, and let's talk about how not to feel guilty about fading out of consciousness for a bit when you're doing the work like this. Okay,
so I think I said the first time I attempted the Course in Miracles, that's distinguished from when I bought it. Right. The first time I actually decided to really flip it open and say, all right, we're going there. I surged for 9 days.
You were just like Mr. Super Course in Miracles.
Why
do people say they can't finish this thing?
What is the deal? I am committed. It's laid out. We got every day here. Every day 9. And then I just forgot I was doing it. I literally forgot I was doing it. A couple of days later, you got that Course in Miracles thing, and I'm like,
I'm done. I'm so done.
I skipped the day. I was like, do I go back? Do I get in? I'm like, I really felt like I'm out. I got everything I was going to get this time. I'm done.
So how many times have you done it or attempted to do the course in your lifetime? How many?
Well, I've been fixing to do it a bunch more times than I actually started days, right? How many times have I been fixing to do it is a big number. The times that I've actually started it is 3.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's about like average, you know. Some of the patrons in my account, this is the first time they have ever heard of the text.
Mm.
So if you've never heard of the Course in Miracles, what we're babbling on about is this very powerful spiritual text that has been known to totally change people's lives. It was channeled through some professors at a university, a man and woman team that decided, you know, she's made the statement, it just has to be a better way. They were working in a university. She was frustrated with the backbiting. She goes, it has to be a better way. And the next thing you know, these two are working on this creative project, which was just like an instant download of information. Now, this was back in the 70s. All right. So this is an
I think
older,
that kind of instant download happened a lot more back in the 70s.
yeah, you know, it was back in the 70s when, you know, everyone just like bing and did something weird. And but basically, so the text is she said she was channeling Jesus. It's very Christian based, uses terms like God and Jesus. And the text since then has been done by lots of people like Marianne Williamson, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, and everyone. The reason I got the text is because all of the people I aspired to and listened to referred to it. And I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. But I never got past day 14 until this time.
Well, I would tell you, all that Christian stuff made it really hard for me.
Right.
Really hard. Now, you know, it's interesting. In the introduction, I remember reading one of the things that made it okay was, first, she didn't particularly believe any of the stuff she was writing when she wrote it.
That's true.
Like she wasn't religious at all for the most part. So she, you know, so that was interesting. I found that interesting. The second thing is, of course, this is a practice. I don't ever even debate whether it's a spiritual book or not. I say, I don't even care. This is the most fundamental practice for changing your brain. So it says you don't have to believe anything, just do it, which is interesting. Like, just see what shows up, see what happens. You don't have to believe it, you just do it. And that's fundamentally, when I coach people, what they already think they know is what stops them. And like getting them to actually take on a practice, the thing that's going to actually make something different is where they stop. So this thing says, I don't care if you believe, but practice these different thoughts that'll twist your brain around.
And I am having that experience. Like, I have been consistently doing it every day. I have it posted every day because I was sharing with David before we went live. Some of them have shifted my emotions. Like, and what I know, my background is my first degree speech therapy, but one of my passions has been when someone is disabled, helping them reprogram the way they move, then that reprograms the way they think, or you reprogram the way you think and you reprogram the way you move. So it's just the biomechanical to me. And what I'm observing from that lens is that, you know, the first week, I'm just looking around this room going, I really don't know what I'm looking at. I think I'm looking at something that's a light, but let's get real. I call it a light. Someone else before me called it a light. But what is it really? You know, it does those gentle thoughts, right? Then it starts getting into, okay, now it's like basically little tinker toys, you know, of a new thought, just a new thought. And they use a lot of words like, I am willing to see it differently. And it gives that permission to not say, this is how it is and everything I thought was wrong. You know, I feel that language has really, I've embraced that more than I have the actual, is God a woman or is God a man or is Jesus really my brother or, you know, someone else's religious beliefs. It's more what I am experiencing is a releasing of low self-esteem filters. Mm-hmm. And then what is I see without struggle or work is my value. And that kind of dovetails into what's our definition? Our second question is, what is our definition of a miracle? And
Well,
yeah.
Let's, before we do that though, let's just
Yeah.
say the answer to the first question though is, you know,
Oh,
what do
yeah.
you do when you drop, when you do, you know, and again, I stopped after 9 days. I stopped after 40 days. I couldn't take 40-day, you know, when I started calling myself, I forget exactly. I
The Son of
remember,
God. You
yeah,
immediately
I
talking,
remember
I am
reading,
receiving the blessing.
reading the Son of God, and I said, I know I don't have to believe this, but I'm taking a sharp right here, and and this was, I mean, this is some years back where I really thought I had developed a lot of tolerance, and really, like, I could hear people talking Jesus, and I'd say, yeah, I know we're talking about that universal power, that universal, didn't matter. I had my universal translators in, that whatever somebody talked about, I could reconstitute it in something I could hear. But I'm not calling myself the Son of God. I'm done here. That's where I hit the bricks the second time around. But
well, that's right where we're at.
I know. I think it's funny. I mean, you know.
I think it's like a miracle.
Well, it sure is.
Okay.
Sure is.
It sure is. So the biggest thing about today, which talks about, let's go back and finish answering the first question.
The answer is, you know, like, it's a practice. So
right.
It's asking you to practice. And in the sense of a practice, you're not really having to build, it's not really like you're building, okay, fundamentally you are sort of building from the ground up, like laying a foundation, like unlearning, creating movement and pathways. And you're building on top of that. But there isn't any kind of magic to, at least in my opinion, that you skip a day or don't skip a day, or if you skip a day, you have to go back. It's not like doing, you know, 70 times 7, where if you miss a day, you start all over again. You know, I think if you practice, you're going to get benefit. And I also think that if you finish this, you're going to get benefit starting over and beginning again. So it's just practice.
Oh, yeah. And to your point, I never, ever have yet ever made it to lesson 363. However, I know, right?
No, I know.
Which is like, because it's 365 days, but this is on my desk. It's one of my favorite, and I don't know how I ran across it. It was, oh, I know why. Because one year I said, I'm going to sign up for the Course in Miracles autoresponder, and it'll go to my email every day and I'll read it and I'll do it. No, but around 364, I read the email. You know, I've been getting it all year. And I loved it. So this has been on, you can see it's all torn. I've taken it with me all over when I was teaching, but I loved this phrase. It really resonated with me. So that's another thing you can do. You can look at which ones are resonating with you and just meditate on that for a whole month. I mean, I feel it is the practice of slowing down our thinking and being willing to think differently. And that allows for something that we may not understand to occur. Like the miracle, like David, let's talk about the two like how the Course defines a miracle and how usually everyone else is defining a miracle. You know, when they, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm not working with the Course of Miracles, or we're having a conversation about the Course of Miracles, I mean, I have a more sort of a regular, my definition of a miracle is something like, you know, something that occurs in the world that seems extraordinary. It's so unusual that we would almost say that it was caused by some divine interference or agency. You know, it seems like a miracle has to have a certain wow factor to it and a certain magic factor to it, and then it's a miracle.
Right.
And that, I mean, it's just common, I think, just common usage of the word. But in the Course of Miracles, when you start to move into this, everything's a miracle. I mean, literally everything's a miracle. There's a course in being with miracles. It's a course in living in miracles. It's a course in moving from, and again, I think that's one of the benefits of this practice, is moving from the focus of your life, or at least having access to this spirituality as, you know, like living in sacredness versus profane. You know, profane not being profane, just being mundane. profane is like your everyday in the world, taking out the trash and going to the work and walking the dog, but actually having access to sacred and making a sacred alignment to what's happening. And so
as you're walking the dog, right?
Right. So then everything then becomes a miracle because of the alignment.
Yes, it's like I started describing it, and what I want people to understand, I guess one of the reasons I love doing this and why I committed to doing it too, is I have been on this journey on Facebook recording the evolution of my thinking during major transformations, because you can see, even though I may be amping it up in my brain, I've noticed what I'm amping up that's really not here. I think that's one of the big freedom parts of it. But I lost the train of thought, but it was going, what did you say right before, David?
I was talking about bringing sacred.
Oh yes, sacred. It is the part about being able, in the first couple of weeks, right after I did it, the statement, I had this craving, like this internal intrinsic motivation. Like, that's my miracle. Like, I want to be intrinsically motivated to get up and create something every day. I want to feel that vibrancy from the inside out. And I felt so connected to nature. And I said, I need to go outside and listen to birds. Mm-hmm. Now, why? Like, it was just like this little opening, it was a very small opening for 10 to 15 minutes. But the way that bathed my brain in possibilities, which was different than me trying to figure a problem out. So I actually felt a difference in the way I was thinking and in a connection to possibilities. I feel that's like when they say a miracle is an everyday occurrence, but it isn't mundane. I'm feeling more vibrant and I don't know what's going to happen. And it's okay. Like, both of those are true. Instead of not knowing what happened used to scare the heck out of me. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the word possibility is almost jargon. And I say that because when we talk about possibility, we know what an opening that is. And most people hear possibility, and there's very little difference in everyday being between possibilities and options. And so when your brain is busy doing what it always did, following what it's always doing, you have a set number of things that you can do. And even when you try to blue sky what's possible, it's still inside of those set number of options. And I think the thing is, when you reorient from what people are considered, the practical, the pragmatic, which I'm really all about practical, pragmatic, frankly. I'm all about that, but as an orientation to be aligned with that as the purpose for moving through the world, that leaves you only options. It doesn't leave you the possibilities. And so when you start unwiring all those things through these different ways of like all these, every lesson is basically a place of, like breaking something. The way that you say it already works. Your brain is saying this is how it works, and it breaks, this is how it works. So you don't know it's not giving you another way. It's just saying that's not true. Break. That's not true. Break. And everything.
That's it. Constant break. That's exactly. Look, it started like this. I mean, this is the visual of what it felt like when I first started. It was like this. All these thoughts were here. Oh. And then it told me to say, you're a useless thought because that's not happening right now. It just had me like connect. If I'm thinking about something, well, just stop it. Like, could you just have like a moment? Like, don't think of something that isn't like you're driving.
It ain't what you think it is.
And I started saying, wow, I have really been running in an automatic nervous system of the past and the future so fast. Let me just pay attention that I'm breathing. Then my ego would go, that's not important enough. I swear, David, look, recognition was fine. I would go, breathing is like the most important thing you can do, and then this other funny voice would come and like, okay, I can see how crazy. No focus on your breathing. It's not that important. How much of an ego is of an automatic nervous system that used to have me suck in, right? And implode everything. So those are some of the funny conversations as And so I guess it does feel very refreshing. And whereas when something else gets new, it wears off after a while. It gets usual, right? That's what you're talking about, the mundane.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced this getting mundane yet. So I think that's a difference of I'm feeling like it's something that I actually now am looking forward to more now that I'm at day 40.
Yeah, I mean, the practice, if you're practicing, it does not lead to mundane.
No.
Okay, it leads away. No, I'm not suggesting that it would lead.
No, but I just want to bring that out because some other practices I used to get really bored with.
Oh,
like
sure. You can forget why you're doing it, and you can just keep doing taking the action and not really having a real keen purpose that stops it from being boring. This one gives you a new one to think of every day.
Oh, yes.
And the thing is, I think around 40, I mean, the first time, like I said, the first time I blew, or the second time, let's be clear, the second time I blew a gasket was because up until then, I could, like, my brain was okay with these ideas. My brain was, yeah, I can get that. Yeah, I can get that. I mean, I do the prayer, yeah, I can get that. And then when they started getting into all of the sacred stuff, I'm like, I'm not sure if I believe it. Like, I'm not sure if I see it. I'm not, like, now we're really starting to challenge, do I really have to take on a belief system? Which is not what it's asking me to do, frankly. I know that now. But like I said, I was fine as long as it wasn't really pressing on a belief system that I wasn't sure was there. But once it started really just making an all-out assault on my belief system, I lost interest.
Okay, great. Because, this leads to the next question. Okay, because this is a good one. But I'm trying to think, David, what should we do first? Because there's two things. One, I want us to read what today's lesson and tomorrow's lesson is to kind of see what the energy is. Because I think when you said this is when people blow a gasket, you know, this is the one that you had a hard time saying and doing. And then that leads into the question, which is, okay, I'm going to have to change my emotional expectation. But what to do when I'm in the middle of a breakthrough? Because what happens is, you know, you have that quickening moment where you could be very emotional. You could feel things when the veils, like we talk about change. But I mean, I've had 4 major turnarounds emotionally that didn't last for a week. It lasted for a few hours, but where it felt as if my heart was melting, veils were lifting and melting. And so those are not usual things, right? But it is a physical response to something that's actually shifting in your perception.
Well, it's basically a low-level existential crisis.
Talk about that. Let's talk about that before we say lesson 39 and 40, because these are powerful. So explain, like, when you know it's working, you will have
you'll have existential crisis, and basically, essentially, it isn't a break of your ego. You know, your ego has got a firm grasp of things, and if you think your ego doesn't have a firm grasp of things, that's just the way your ego has a firm grasp of things, right? So, whenever something that you call you gets blown up, that part of you isn't there anymore, and there's crisis.
Existential ones.
That's right, because
not extraterrestrials. Don't get those confused. We're not talking about ETs. We're talking about
because you look
your
around
whole
and
little world starts caving in.
Everything's fine. You got money to pay the bills. You got no one really more mad at you today than they were yesterday. You got really nothing, but all of a sudden, like, you got a problem and you don't even know why you got a problem.
That's it. It's like the problem bubble comes, and I explain it. It feels like it's out here, but it's really coming from your subconscious on up. Like, it's been destroyed, so you're now kind of witnessing it as it comes through you.
You're steady trying to figure out who you are, you know, in the where what you knew to be or what you thought was true. has been ruptured. Now you're busy trying to put it back together. And oftentimes the shit don't go back together. I mean, it takes time. It takes time for you to come to a new place, because you can't just, you know, you can't just patch it. You just can't take a patch on there because nothing seems to stick.
So when a lot of people have been afraid to do the course because they don't want to have existential crises.
Oh, girl, we do this work to have those. That's why we do the work.
Thank you. And so let's talk about the benefit of having these on a, not like I've had the ones I've had, I feel like that cleared a lot of debris out of my subconscious. I'm not going to have those every month and every 2 weeks. I'm not going to be bipolar or feel like I'm in a mood swing.
No,
So
no
I don't
more
want
than
to.
normal.
Thank you. Thank you. That's me just on a regular day. So let's just talk about. So I want people to understand like the benefits. Like, why do we want to go through this dismantling of this ego, really?
Well, and you said it. I mean, there's a clearing. That blow up generates a clearing. It generates a space. Okay, and that space is freedom, because whatever that thing is that broke, you now have a freedom of motion yet that you haven't really seen any benefit to, but there's motion. There's a freedom that's opened that you don't even know yet, because you're still sort of sifting through the rubble of what used to be held in place. But that gives you freedom, it gives you power. Both of those things come out of it. And that is in your experience of feeling alive, in your ability to be expressive and express yourself, and your ability to just, you know, find meaning and purpose. Wherever that thing broke loose, there's a space, there's a possibility that opens there that wasn't there before, where you only had options. Now a possibility shows up.
I love that. Options, possibilities. Options are limited, possibilities unlimited. I really like that. I like that. And the benefit of this, what I also am realizing and benefiting from, is that instead of like I'm here as a soul in a body having a human experience, however that is, those things I personally can see and feel and connect to. So I'm here to grow. So these existential crises that I have imagined, when I have them in a spiritual sense, don't necessarily, I'm going to have them one way or the other. Like I feel somehow.
You're going to have them if you're working on having them. You're going to have them if you're doing the right things on a growth path. You're going to have them.
Yes.
If you're doing the right things on a growth path, I mean, everything else is very much feels like, all right, I read a new book, or you know, you might feel like you can stack up the logs of everything you've learned, but you don't. You know, every now and then it really impacts you in a way that you see, like your world is different. And the precursor to my world different is that opening, and that opening is created with the breakdown, with something that gets destroyed.
Yeah. So
and like I said, every single one of these statements is an attack.
It's so weird.
They are
Bring forth, but I said, I've said it so many times because I really want people to do the course and enjoy doing it. That's why I'm trying to, you know, have fun with it with everyone. Sometimes like that, but still fun. This one, my holiness, like this whole week has been talking about how holy I am. And even when I say it, I was talking to a friend of mine in Norway, and we were talking about it on the day. And the thing was, I am holy, my holiness is the salvation of the world, or something like that. And I instantly started laughing. I heard my recognition response. And the word was, well, if the world's counting on me, we're going to hell in a handbasket. And I instantly started laughing. And then as I went deeper, like I want to show you epiphanies, I went, why would that be my first reaction to my holiness? So I want everyone to know, like when you're saying these, like, why am I so irreverent? Where did I develop that irreverent, you know, It's great for self-acceptance. Now, look, it helps me get to the next level and I'm all about it. But then I remember developing that protection shield around my heart, being picked on. Like if I got to the joke first about me, then everyone's laughing with me before they're laughing at me. And so like that whole shield came down. And you can imagine how much that's helping me in what I do being on Facebook. Like if I have that kind of, you get shield up emotionally that, I didn't even know was there. But just that fun investigation, even though it was a chuckle in it, but I didn't feel guilty about it. I went, Joe, that's easy. And guess what? Because it's the course, because I saw I was trying to assign a meaning in the story, I instantly said, boop, that's a meaningless thought. I don't even know why anything ever got crafted in the first place. And then that's that freedom of me having to construct a story. And I think that's what's helping me stay in the now moment that we read about is this neurological practice. Like the most powerful thing was me not making up a story about me being picked on in high school. Like that's the most self-defeating emotional thing for me to refer to. So even though we go deeper into these lessons and they may stir up something, one I always use is one of those first weeks. You're a meaningless thought. It's not happening. No one's picking on me right now.
Yeah.
I'm not listening to you.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that helps me when I find myself get worked up emotionally, is I always go to that first one. So does that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Awesome.
I know for me, so long before I did Course in Miracles the first time, I tried to be sacred. You remember me dressing in white and being really deliberate about everything I said and everything I ate. Every thought I had was to be, let's make sure that every utterance, added to the vibrational harmony of the universe. And I thought that was like a year and a half, like I was doing a full court press on my ego. I thought I was like shrinking it down to a nub, I really, I mean, it was doing a real good job hiding from me. And I was doing
it all dressed up. You had it all dressed up.
Oh my goodness.
You had it all that's
right.
the image.
Yeah.
Let's make it match.
Yeah.
Let's do
so every now and then when I think part about this that gets me is when I start thinking it's like that, like sacred and those words, holiness, holiness even sounds like his holiness, his holiness, and her holiness. So I have to basically, for me, I have to remember to separate out the ego thoughts about this, about like so high and mighty, as opposed to, again, this alignment with the sacred.
Okay, and let's go to energy, because I think this has helped me embrace this and say, okay, I can do that. I can really amp up my holiness. I use the word whole, WHOL, and I want my whole energy field. And that I know when I walk in a room, and when you walk in a room, and we're intending, when we would teach, when our energy field went in that room before we walked in that room. Because there we had, done a lot of energy work, the way we thought, our intention, our heart energy, what we did that day to prepare, everything was for that experience, for that room. And I would feel my absolute best. When I would come home, I didn't have that same, I didn't prepare the same way. I regret, some of my biggest regrets is that I didn't prepare breakfast for my children the way I prepared for a course. If I go back, so that's how I now see this. I prepare for every day, like I used to prepare for a course. I get in that place of everything I touch, everything I do is going to benefit someone, and I don't even know how. It's so, and I think that's really what this lesson is about.
You know, that shift that you're making right there, again, that's not a subtle shift, because even if you think about the two of us, when we used to teach, at least I can speak for myself, and I'm pretty sure you'll recognize this. For me, I could raise my vibration, and I could sort of clear my purpose and align it and create that field. But at the deepest level, I was still only doing it for the purpose of being loved. So it wasn't something that I was doing yet totally authentic. Like, we could do a lot of good things and have a lot of good things happen out of it, and the measurements that you're talking about are there. But ultimately, we didn't go home and do it in our house because we weren't really doing it yet.
Right. I would go totally unconscious.
Yeah.
Because it was too hard, because I didn't have people in me in whatever. It was like you said, it was more to grandize me.
I wanted to be loved. I chose to be in service because I realized that was an avenue to be loved. And I choose to be helpful because I decided that was an avenue to be loved. But nowhere in that equation was there really healing. I mean, I was healing myself and working on myself, but it really wasn't for me. It was to be loved. So somewhere along the way, when the orientation comes and we realize we're doing this work because the quality of our inner space actually dramatically impacts the world and everyone in it and everything we come in contact with. But again, your statement talks about like starting with yourself first. I mean, on a practical level, if you're not really starting with yourself first, there's probably some misdirection going on, that it isn't going to work, which is why, for the most part, probably why I've never made it through this text, because I wasn't that committed to that shift for me.
Right. Well, I was very determined this year. I've been building something for 4 years, and I realized at the end of last year, I kept recreating the same emotional expectation. And, I've had things in my life where grieving was appropriate, but there was a time where this felt like self-pity. And I said, okay, so what discipline? And I actually just asked for guidance. Show me what discipline. I will do this discipline, and I will do it on, and just do it. Just no excuses. And so I set it up so I wouldn't have an excuse by saying I was going to do it, and have a Patreon account and, do it together as a group. And that's held me accountable. Mm-hmm. Now what's happening, I'm starting to see this thing about, oh my God, if I could have cooked breakfast the way that I prepared for a course, if I could have treated myself the way that I even read an early recollection for someone else. So it's been that kind of holiness. And I think that's the appreciation. And what that does automatically then is it creates this energy field, that goes.
Yeah. When you start holding yourself sacred, it isn't so arrogant, because everything is sacred then.
Yeah.
As opposed to you're better than. It's like, now you're at least, not at least, but now you are the same magnificent than everything is. Right.
And then that's when you get the eyes to see and fulfillment. So I think, that's another benefit. So this is exactly the statement for today. My holiness is my salvation.
Boom. Did I lead into that or what?
Yeah, come on, do it, baby.
Yeah,
the salvation thing. Let's give some empty lives a little meaning. Let's go for it. My holiness is not only my salvation, it is your salvation. Because if you're a character in my movie, you want me to get how fabulous I am. That's right. So we can project that upon you,
That, and make you stop putting demands on me for that shit.
That's right. Exactly. I don't want to have to be the one that tells you you're great. So one of the practice things is my unloving thoughts about fill in the blank are keeping me in hell. Because what they're basically talking about is the emotion of guilt. And that if guilt is hell, what is the opposite? Mm-hmm. Like the text for which this workbook was written The ideas used for the exercise are very simple, very clear, and totally unambiguous. So basically, if guilt is hell, what is its opposite?
So, I mean, the first thing before anyone, it's easy to listen and not really process and chew. So you have to chew that. You really have to chew that, because if guilt is hell is a big thing to chew on the first time. Because when I first started out going, guilt is hell, what's the opposite? And I'm trying to do it like math in my head. But taking on that guilt is hell is a whole question to itself. Like, what does that say about what I thought hell was? Is that actually what hell is? Or, and again, this book isn't talking about what's true and what isn't true. But
Right.
if you were to actually say that guilt is hell, which is the statement, well, you just can't let that go by. Okay, that's not just like a premise. You've really got to like chew the premise. So
Chew it.
Guilt
Yes.
is hell.
Guilt. It hurts.
Yeah.
You won't, like, what are all the things that I do when I feel guilty? I don't let myself connect.
I mean, I had that whole
like,
bag of chips the other night, and I thought it was guilt that was making me feel bad, but
what was it? It sure seems. Okay, so so unloving thoughts about. So right now, everybody that's listening, what's bothering you right now? Like, what's really up for you? What's churning? Like, what do you have aggravated thoughts about? And that's all that about yourself, about a problem, about someone else. And then,
well, the period of time that we're going through right now, we see a tremendous amount of those thoughts showing up in the political arena, don't we?
yes,
Like whether you hate Trump or you hate Biden, there's a whole lot of hate going on.
right. So if we just did that, like, my unloving thoughts about politics are keeping me in hell. How many people can relate to that? I know it is for me too. I feel stupid. And, so I could do two. Stupid as hell and guilt as hell. those are two thought that
Only
put
if
me
you're
right in
only if you're
hell.
guilty about feeling stupid.
There you go. You're right. It goes right back to guilt. Stupid is nowhere on the radar now. Thank you for pointing that out. That's beautiful. That's true. My holiness is my salvation. Now, you're supposed to say all of that together in a sentence. Now, so basically they're saying what's opposite of your guilt is your holiness and salvation. Because you got guilt and holiness, hell, salvation. I like the,
Right.
and then
Well,
those two
any
together.
thoughts that would generate guilt are illusions anyway, and unhelpful.
Right.
So.
Right. Now, why I'm saying that is because I want to talk about lesson 40 and why it's important for you to be in your frequency of salvation before the next one is I basically receive the blessings for being, I am blessed as the son of God. So like part of the thing about preparing yourself as an energetic vessel to see miracles or to experience the world in a miraculous way, then the making way, like David was talking about, right? Well, one of the thoughts, like, you won't let yourself receive any blessings if you feel guilty. And that's basically what this is saying. So why don't you pay attention to what is causing you to feel bad? Because energetically, your energy field will shy away if we're talking about your energy field as your wholeness.
Yeah, what's funny? I've never had trouble for many years saying that my life is blessed, that I'm blessed. Okay, that's been easy. Okay. Mm-hmm. But when I hit this thing that says I'm blessed as a son of God, okay, it's like, hold on a second. I want to say
more.
Yeah. Well, it really forces me to find the source of that as something sacred, something embedded. And it presses up against my knee-jerk reaction to like religion as opposed to spirituality. Like it presses on it hard. I mean, I have to do mental gymnastics to get around the words to take them in, which means that I want to keep saying them anyway, because I read it and I go, I take the words, I break them down into my meaning, reconstruct it, and then I can hear it. But reading it as this is sort of like as a son of God, I just go tilt.
So let me ask this. That's interesting. I got to tell you, because as a woman saying I am blessed son of God totally is a disconnect linguistically, because so I just say for all women, just don't fight it. Just go ahead and say I am the daughter of God, or I am the daughter of the goddess. Either
so
one.
when you say daughter of God, does it fully land or just not so badly?
What happens is this. First off, I have two hurdles I go through when I say it as this is written. I've also, everyone knows I'm using Pam Grout's The Experiment of A Course in Miracles. She did a whole year, and she said right at the front, for her to do it, she had to take God out and put universe in. Like she couldn't even go into the text until she did that switch. And she said, everyone, it's totally great. The people who even wrote it said, take what you want, leave what you don't, right? But basically, I go up against, number one, I'm not a son. Hello. And then all this unjust stuff comes up first. Yeah. Then the second thing is God, where I've never, David, listened to masculine energy really. I mean, I've just always just kind of been this, me. So what I'm saying is to say that I'm subservient, it feels like I'm subservient to a man. I got to go through that neurologically a little bit, because that's not what this is saying.
Yeah, I think we're saying,
but I think it's that practice. I think it's that stretch. I think it's acknowledging my startle response. Just noticing how I'm designed, and that this word startles me, and it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
Like that's my practice. Like I think that's what this is saying. Hey, notice what startles you, what you have to have, what conditions you have to have, just to say that, hey, you're not all mind.
Well,
you're not all a body.
Yeah, see, I'm trying.
You have a puff of smoke in you, that's animating this body. How about if your conversation with that, right? Yeah. So thank you. But go on, yes.
No, I agree. When I said before that I have to break it down, I mean, I will change it into universe. I will change, that's what I'm doing in my head. And then I turn and I go, no. Like I want to freaking lift all the weights, and so I keep.
You definitely, that's what I'm saying. It was so interesting to me, because if I was a man and it was God, but that's me again making a story up. But I would imagine, I guess in my mind, I just thought it'd be easy for you to say, I'm a son because you are a son. And God is a masculine reference. And so
no, but you forget,
feel a connection.
You forget also that my primary, my early days, my distrust for men was much higher than women.
True. And that's, thank you. But that's what I said. I thought this was very interesting. Because
but I wasn't really thinking about it as masculine energy. It really is like universal energy being given to a entity, a person, something, like the word God, I have to actually do something in my head to make it less, what's the word when you anthropomorphize or something like that?
Or, basically make it into this Santa Claus in the sky situation.
God, the word God immediately, no matter all the work I've done, I have to actually change that word, because God stands for like a person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, not a person, but a person.
Yeah, we've seen statues, we've seen all kinds of stuff.
So the moment I'm trying to find my spirituality from point to it, okay, I just go, I have to change that to universe. I have to change it to something else because I can't point to it and actually give it authority like that.
Right. And this gives you authority.
So that's why I'm practicing, trying to let it, I don't know what benefit there is, but but for me, like wherever I block, it's fun to push against the block and see what breaks.
And that's why you have good friends having fabulous conversations about it, because
It's also why I've never gotten past 60 probably.
David, you could join. Look, by March, dude, you would be past 60. You could like have that as a little milestone on your hero's journey.
We were dancing with our spirituality at 60, and I was like, I'm out of here.
I don't even know. I'm so looking forward to the next 30 days, next 40 days.
I remember at 60 in the book, there's a break. And I decided to really take that break to heart.
Well, there is? Okay, that's good to know.
I mean, I don't know that means
pedal to the metal.
I don't know if it means you're supposed to take any time off, but it does, lesson and another lesson and lesson. 60, it goes, like summary or whatever. Like I'll call it a break. It might not even be a break, but there's something.
Okay. Well, it's a review.
Yeah,
they
that looked like a good time for a break for me.
That's a break. That's the spring break. And it'll be right around.
That was the break from which I haven't returned.
And you show up like a miracle on day 39 and 40 to help us understand it a little bit better.
I can help now. Once you get on further down the road,
we're done. Well, that's why I'm wondering. I'm curious to see how the guests, because every month on the second Monday of the month is when I have a guest come in that has done the practice or has some kind of connection with the practice.
I wonder how many people you're going to find after 60 that are really like that.
Look, dude, I might be talking to Marianne Williamson.
Does it require that they've actually done the one that you're working on, or just that they've, signed up for the emails?
I don't think so, because look, what I think is really going to happen is this is going to catch some type of momentum, and people will probably coming in, right after that break on 60, and right where they're at, they're going to be able to handle that lesson. Like, that's the other thing I want people to know. Like, if you're just listening to that, this is where you begin.
Yeah.
I used to do this crazy mind-numbing thing that if I missed a day, I'd go back to day one. So, yeah. I really had this guilt going, right? I feel so guilty because I missed a day. I should be so pious. Yeah. I will just, beat myself a little bit more to be more spiritual. Like, that makes no sense now, but it made a lot of sense in my private logic, quote unquote, ego, back at a time to punish myself to do more. And I wondered why I was always exhausted. So get that.
Well, maybe I can start studying 60 now so that when you get there.
David, you can come on every month if you want to, babe. So you just tell me when.
And do we have any questions? Do we have any questions from our audience? I mean, do we actually have an audience?
Let's see. Yes, we do. We have, I think Robin is still watching. We've had people come on and off all during this hour, David. We're almost done.
To see where they stop in,
yes.
Look and they go, oh no, I'm out.
Yes, I've got to leave. But we had at one point 6, 7 people watching at one time. So I don't know if it's still Robin here, but if anyone has a question, I'm here to read and see. I want to see of the questions that were sent by the patrons. We answered what we think a miracle is. Oh, what to do when you're having. What if you're shaking up? I'm still watching. But if you're shaking up, David, what is one of the best things you do to bring yourself into alignment? Do you have, like I do that, I go back to that first thought and I drop it and I use the auditory click a lot. I'll do something.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying when you're shaking up. What do you
say? You're having like a breakdown. Say your nervous system starts shaking, you're crying, you're feeling the emotional release.
Yeah, I think that's something people need to develop some strategies. That the one you have, for myself, it's going to be either meditate or take a walk. Both of those things ground me. Some people do really good getting outdoors. Some people do really good with physical activity, going for a workout. Some people do, I mean, you've just got to find what it is that grounds you, that brings you back to yourself.
Brings you back into alignment. Yes. Okay. I don't see any questions right now, David, but look, anybody that's watching the replay of this, David and I'll be watching if any questions come up, I'll text David those, you do it, and David and I'll watch this feed, and we'll answer some questions. So don't think just because you haven't been here from the beginning, you can't rewatch it and still enjoy it and ask questions if they're up. And again, if you want to join this journey, you can follow it on Patreon or right here on the Southern Muse page. So David, how would you want to end tonight, and how can people get in touch with you if they want to meet with you? Because you do coaching, right? You do personal coaching.
Yeah, they can check my website at Deliberate Harmony, deliberateharmony.com. Yep, there's a place to email me there if they want to connect. Yeah, what I want to say is practice is what really makes a difference, and that's why this is a very powerful one. This is really like massive practice. But to move forward, to make the quality of your life improve, requires practice. Every now and then we catch an insight and it feels like, wow, that's what I was going for. But the impact of that insight doesn't last without practice. So
yeah,
leave here committed to practice more for yourself, for the quality of your life. That's what I would like to leave with.
And look, you have possibilities, right? Because if this isn't your practice, if this doesn't resonate with you, I promise you, all you have to do is ask, and you'll be guided to the next practice. And we've done some, huh, David? So yeah. So, and all of it has benefited my fulfillment in life. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And David, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I just so enjoy conversations with you.
Thanks for having me, Tanya. Thanks for what you do. Take care.
Thank you, Boo. Bye.